Welcome to the channel. My name is Coach, the best NXT review channel allegedly, and just mind me today. I'm a bit sick, so if my voice sounds off or my nose sounds a bit runny every now and again, I'm gonna try and cut it out, but it might sometimes still get through. Anyway, we ball. Let's get into NXT. Tonight's episode starts with a match between rivals Kalani Jordan and Lola Vice. Lola Vice has her arm hurt or her hand hurt, so she's not using that hand that much this match, but Kalani Jordan specifically targets that match. In fact, that's what she uses to win. She makes Lola Vice tap out. Not gonna lie, the submission did look a kind of bit clunky. It didn't look that good, but hey, I love submission finishers. We don't get them that often, and whenever we do, I really appreciate it. And especially for Kalani Jordan, she doesn't really use submissions all that much to end matches, so it's a nice twist to the match. However, with the way Kalani Jordan did win the match, I'm going to assume this rivalry is not over yet, which it should be, man. This rivalry has gone on for a bit too long in my opinion. I'm just happy Kalani Jordan picked up the victory here because she does, in my opinion, she's the best women's wrestler in NXT, so I'm always gonna stand her even if I'm not right. Fight me. But yeah, I would just like to see both these women go on to doing bigger and better things because this feud has kind of run its edge for me. We also then see Ricky Sainz arrive at the arena, but he's instantly jumped by Joe Henry. As we all know, NXT's parking lot is the most dangerous place to be, but we quickly transition into a segment as Joe Henry comes down to the ring. Joe Henry says he's not in a dancing and singing mood and calls out Ricky Sainz, who does come out at the stage at the top over there, and they throw a few jabs. Ricky Sainz compares it to them, saying Joe Henry is just a meme. He's a dance, he's a fake champion, he's a guy that they put on the covers, but Ricky Sainz, he's a true wrestler and he's the true champion. And Joe Henry does not take that nicely, so he wants to put his championship on the line, which Ricky Sainz agreed for. So at Vengeance Day, we're going to have Joe Henry versus Ricky Sainz for the NXT Championship, and I don't think it's too soon. I'm actually quite hyped for this match, but it makes me wonder what the plans are for Stand and Deliver, because usually that's NXT's WrestleMania. You'd think they'd save this specific match for Stand and Deliver, not for Vengeance Day. So I'm really curious to see what the plans are for Vengeance Day for both these men. I hope we don't run it back. I don't want to see this match at Vengeance Day and Stand and Deliver, although it might happen, but I'm really hoping it doesn't. Anyway, later during the night, Robert Stone backstage does confront Joe Henry, saying that he already threw Ricky Sainz out of the arena, but he does have to ask Joe Henry to leave too because of his actions, and Joe Henry does leave. So both Ricky Sainz and Joe Henry basically got thrown out of the arena tonight, although it doesn't really matter. It's not like they had any influence over the rest of the show. Then we also have Hank and Tank hyping up Shiloh Hill for his North American Championship match in the main event tonight. I thought it was fun. Both Hank and Tank and Shiloh Hill are pretty weird characters, and they seem kind of fun together. I don't want them to be a permanent team, but I would like it if they occasionally interacted. I think they have a lot of chemistry and they seem fun together. Also, since I have to keep you guys updated on this, we have an Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley promo package where Izzy Dame basically watches the video from Tatum Paxley next week and mocks her over it. I don't really care. This feud has lost all my interest. It was pretty good at the start up until Deadline, but after this I kind of stopped giving a damn about it. So we're here now, doesn't matter, just letting you guys know it is a thing. This leads to our second match of the night, where it's Tony D'Angelo versus Cutler James. It's basically just a squash match to show off Tony D'Angelo, where he picks up the victory. Also, I do not like Tony D'Angelo's gear. It looks so generic. Tony D'Angelo looks good, but man, the gear looks generic. It's worse. Like, remember his gear as the Don? Wasn't all that memorable. It wasn't anything special, but it fit his character, was memorable. This just seems like, hey, we give him some black pants, some black shoes, let him go out there and fight. It's pretty boring, especially for this new Tony D'Angelo where we're trying to do something different with him. Just feels basic, just seems like, hey, let's make him an all black badass. It doesn't work for me. I want to see more from his gear. I want to see him stand out. That's the whole thing, right? Anyways, after the match, he gets attacked by Dion Lennox, but Dion Lennox makes the big mistake by trying to check up on Cutler James, so Tony D'Angelo beats the shit out of him too. He tries to destroy Dion Lennox's leg on the steel steps, but Cutler James manages to pull him away in time, and then, referees all come out to break this whole thing up. So yeah, I mean, I'm okay with this feud, seems fine. I like the fact that Tony D'Angelo looked dominant in this match. Can't say I'm particularly excited for Dion Lennox and Tony D'Angelo feud. I've never been the biggest fan of Dion Lennox since he joined Dark State. So I'm just gonna give it a chance, see where it goes, because arguably for me, this feud features the two most boring members of Dark State. The two most interesting members of Dark State are the tag team champions, so you know, it is what it is. And since we're on that topic, let's just talk about it. Let's talk about the number one contendership match for the tag team championships. It's the Vanity Project versus OTM versus Hank and Tank versus the Culling. And you know what's so funny is that all of these teams are pretty interesting, have a nice character, they're relatively liked, and then you have the Culling, who's just in this match, man. They're so boring. How are the women of the Culling the most interesting part? Like, women on NXT, they're just built different. But, you know, ultimately, the Vanity Project ends up winning through all teamwork with Jackson Drake getting involved. Not disappointed in this at all. I would have hoped OTM wins because I'm still going strong in the campaign that OTM should be tag team champions, man. That should happen. But Vanity Project, I love the Vanity Project. I love Swipe Right. So I'm very happy they picked up this victory. I don't think they're going to win these championships, although I would like it. We also had a segment earlier before Ricky Saints got thrown out of the arena where the whole Vanity Project, Jackson Drake, Brad Baylor, Ricky Smokes, we're talking to Ethan Page and Ricky Saints, so maybe it looks like we might be getting this big major faction between all of them, and it makes sense, they're all kind of the same. Just thought I'd mention that because it would be cool if they all had the championships. I don't want Ricky Saints to win that championship, but Ethan Page is already North American champion, Jackson Drake is already Evolve champion. If Ricky Saints wins the NXT championship, Swipe Right wins the tag team championships, even if just for a brief moment they could all be champions in a big ass faction, which would be kind of cool. Then we have the match before the Speed Championship Tournament Finals, Elio LaFleur versus Eli Knight, and surprisingly I am invested in the Speed Tournament again, because this match ends in a draw. So Robert Stone comes out and says, next week, since this match ended in a draw, we're going to have the first ever triple threat speed match, and the match limit will be 7 minutes. So yeah, this is what I've wanted for a while. I've continuously said that the speed tournament needs more matches. The average match should be 5 minutes, gives wrestlers way more time to actually do something, and the championship matches should be 7 minutes. I like that they're doing this now. I hope they go with this permanently, because 3 minutes just isn't enough for me to get invested in a match. It really just isn't. But I am very excited for this match. I think this could be a really great match because all a bunch of young, really interesting wrestlers that I like. Plus, you know, the Speed Championship being, you know, reinvented again seems cool. And then as for the women's speed tournament, backstage, Fallon Ellie and Robert Stone are talking about the Speed Championship. He says he needs one more woman for the Speed Women's Tournament, and that Blake Moreau walks into the room, and Robert Stone's like, hey Blake Moreau, how about you're in this? And Blake Moreau is, sure, fine, who am I gonna face? And she has to face Thea L, which is like, that was so funny to me, and Blake Moreau is really pissed about this too. It kind of sucks for Blake Moreau, who's now in the Speed Tournament. I mean, you know, the Speed division isn't anything bad. It's relatively well booked, you know, it's just me not having interest in it. But I'm down to see where this turns out to. I could see Blake Moreau ultimately being the one to win the Speed Championship, which wouldn't be a bad decision. It would add a lot of prestige to it. So I would low-key be down for it. Do I think it's gonna happen? Probably not. I think she's just thrown in to continue that feud with Thea L. But you know, I'm interested in seeing where this goes. So Ruka is also looking for Zarya backstage, and when she eventually finds Zarya, Zarya is pissed, and it looks like she ended the friendship in that moment. She says that this friendship has always been one-sided, but it's done now. They're no longer friends, and so Ruka can go face-to-face with JC Jane on her own tonight. And so Ruka does. She does go face-to-face with JC Jane. JC Jane is very jealous in this promo, talking about how she had a great Royal Rumble showing, but all the attention was on So Ruka, who didn't even win. So Ruka does come out, but she quickly gets overwhelmed, and Zarya then also comes out, and it looks like Zarya was gonna spear So Ruka, but you know, it wasn't really convincing because like it felt random. But yeah, she does end up saving So Ruka, and So Ruka and Zarya survive one more week. But man, I don't think this is gonna last for long. God, I hope Zarya helps So Ruka win that championship and they stay friends. But a part of me just feels like next week Zarya is gonna cost So Ruka that championship. It's gonna be heartbreaking, but it's probably gonna happen. I would prefer they stay together because I really like this team. But you know, I don't know. Every week feels like they're gonna break up, and I like the tension because every week they build the tension up more and more, and it's just so effective. And then in the main event, it is Shiloh Hill versus Ethan Page. Ethan Page on his journey to become the best, longest reigning, and most title defenses North American champion ever. And we all knew Ethan Page was gonna retain this championship. He has this whole feud with Myles Borne going on. But you know, during this match I was like, hell, Myles Borne, Shiloh Hill wouldn't be a bad champion. Shiloh Hill would actually be a pretty decent champion. I could see him having a fun reign. that didn't happen. The Vanity Project came down to the ring, kind of helped Ethan Page pick up the victory, but after the match, Myles Borne did come down, and both Shiloh Hill and Myles Borne took out the Vanity Project, and then Myles Borne put a chair over Ethan Page's leg and threatened Ethan Page with stomping on it unless Ethan Page gave him a title shot. Ethan Page obviously agrees because he's a wimp, but then Myles Borne does stomp on it anyway, even though he gets his match. So, I can see Ethan Page using this as an excuse to not have that match next week and have it extended, but Myles Borne does have his championship match now. And I love what you're doing with Myles Borne. I've been on the fence about it, but him being a babyface that is doing heel-ish shit, it's kind of fresh for him, and I kind of like it. I don't want him to be champion. I don't feel like he's the right person to win that championship, mainly because I'm not that interested in him. Like, I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet. But if they put the belt on him, I will give it a fair chance. I'm just not sure if I want him to win that championship. Kind of want Ethan Page to retain that belt, not gonna lie. He's the best male wrestler on NXT right now going on. And that's NXT for you tonight. So, if I have to give it a rating, I'm gonna give it a 8 out of 10. It was a really good episode, as NXT always is. NXT is so good every single week. Unarguably the best wrestling show there is right now. But this episode did kind of feel like filler as we're building towards next week. Like, you had the number 1 contendership match for the Speed Championship, the number 1 contender for the Tag Team Championship, confrontations between champions and challengers. It felt like this was all a setup for next week or the week after, which we were having a bunch of championship matches on there. So, I'm kind of feeling like this was a bit of a filler episode. Doesn't mean it wasn't good, right? Doesn't mean it was not good. It was a really good episode, but that's kind of the vibe it gave me. So yeah, 8 out of 10 sounds fine. If you like this review, leave a like, subscribe. I cover NXT, TNA, and Evolve every single week. And I also have a podcast with PUWF where we talk about Evolve for about an hour and a half, 2 hours every single week. So if you're interested in that long form content, go check that out. It will really help that channel out. So leave a like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye, everyone.